Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1129 of the Juicebox Podcast. Mellisa is a married teacher and mother of two. Her youngest child, her daughter, has type 1 diabetes, and today we'll tackle a number of different topics, including how her daughter didn't initially want an insulin pump. Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. When you place your first order for AG1 with my link, you'll get 5 free travel packs and a free year's supply of vitamin D. Drink ag1.com/juicebox. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. If you're looking for community around type 1 diabetes, check out the Juicebox Podcast private Facebook group, Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. But everybody is welcome. Type 1, Type 2, gestational, loved ones, it doesn't matter to me. If you're impacted by diabetes and you're looking for support, comfort, or community, check out Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by AG1. Drink ag1.com/juicebox. When you use my link and place your first order, you're going to get a welcome kit, a year's supply of vitamin D, and 5 free travel packs. US Med is sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast, and we've been getting our diabetes supplies from US Med for years. You can as well. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Use the link or the number, get your free benefits check, and get started today with US Med.
My name is Mellisa, and I am a mother of 2, a boy 16 and a girl 14. And my daughter is the one who has type 1 diabetes. Mm-hmm. And I'm a teacher and I'm married. We have a dog and we live in the Midwest. And everybody in our family is blonde haired, blue eyed. We all look exactly the same. And my daughter was diagnosed in 2021, June 15th.
Okay. Melissa, do you have a car?
We have a few actually. Yeah.
Actually, when you mentioned, like, when you started listing other things you own, like dogs and stuff, I thought maybe we could go through your possessions.
I just figured I'd give you a picture, you know?
Quick yeses and nos. A television in the living room?
Yes.
Okay. You have a bed in the bedroom?
Yes.
Actually, does the dog poop on the grass?
Yes.
All right, I got your life. Don't worry, I'm all good.
Okay.
What kind of teacher are you?
Our son picks it up.
Does he really?
He's a scooper.
Oh my God. Can I tell you, Kelly hates it, but I don't pick up dog poop. So I have a theory about dog poop. I think rain takes care of it.
It will if you let it go long enough, or snow.
And Kelly thinks that I should not cut the lawn without picking it up. But I don't do that. I would say if Kelly and I went to therapy, inside of the first 3 sessions, she would mention that I don't pick up the dog poop before I cut the grass.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's fertilizer, I guess, right?
That's how I look at it.
I bet you those spots are nice and green.
I'm just trying to get your kid out of having to do that. That's all. So, kid needs to do something. What kind of a teacher are you? I
can teach Spanish and phys ed for middle school. And I have been teaching phys ed mostly for the past couple of years. 22 years teaching Spanish for 20 of them, and the past 2 years phys ed.
Do those kids ever actually learn Spanish?
You know, I mean, they do while they're sitting in front of me, but then if they don't go on, I'm middle school, so if they don't go on and take it in high school, then they'll say, I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know?
I gotcha.
Or the parents come in at conferences and be like, I had Spanish all through and I don't remember a thing. It's like, oh, good. But
I have to tell you, I took French for 3 years, and I know neuf means 9. So.
Oh, that's not French, is it? Or is it?
Yeah.
Is it German?
French. It's French. I believe neuf is 9. I'm pretty. Oh my God. Are you telling me the one thing I know might not be right?
No, I do not know French or German. It just sounded German.
All right, Mellisa, that's enough of this. So, We're going to move on now. Daughter was diagnosed at what age?
She was 12.
Oh, okay. It's been a few years then.
Yes, a couple years now.
Okay. All right. Was that during COVID still, or was that sort of the end of COVID?
It was the end. We still had masks on in the hospital, and, they wouldn't let my son come back, just my husband and I. But yeah, it was past COVID, but we still had protocol, I guess.
Okay. I'm going to jump right into this because in your description of why you wanted to come on the show, you're like, honeymoon, crazy long honeymoon.
Yeah.
No one's ever been that specific about it. So let's just find out a little bit about the diagnosis and then jump into the honeymoon.
Okay.
What did you notice about your daughter that got you to a doctor or a hospital? I partnered with AG1 because I needed a daily foundational nutritional supplement that supported my whole body health. I continue to drink AG1 every day because it works for me. AG1 is my foundational nutritional supplement. It gives me comprehensive nutrition and it supports my whole body health. Drink ag1.com/juicebox. When you use my link to place your first order, here's what you're going to get. A free welcome kit that includes a shaker, scoop, and canister, 5 free travel packs, a free year supply of vitamin D, and of course, your AG1. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/juicebox. That's drinkag1.com/juicebox. Check it out.
All right. Well, at the time, I hear a million people, well, not a million, but thousands of people on your podcast say just explaining away the symptoms, because I would say the first thing we noticed was that she had dropped a little bit of weight, but she was running track and swimming all at the same time for school and then swimming for a club. So it would make sense that she would drop a little bit of weight, I thought. Mm-hmm. And then it was the end of the school year in the summer and noticing that she's been thirstier and wanting to eat ice all the time, but it's hot and she's doing 2 sports at once. So made sense. She was becoming super moody and she's 12. Well, maybe that's what happens when, you start to be like a preteen or whatever.
Right.
And so all of the things that just figured it was just normal stuff. But I remember specifically one time after it was the last day of school. So the next day, Saturday, I was taking some things to the laundromat. We have a washer and dryer, but the bedding,
Mellisa, I love that you were just like, hey, I can afford my own washer. I just want to make sure everyone knows I got one in the house, but this is for the big stuff. Okay.
The car, the dog, the washer dryer. Yeah.
I just can't, I can't fit that. Is this a humble brag that your comforter is so thick and lush it doesn't fit in a regular washing machine?
No, it's probably because we let our dog on our bed and it was so gross that we had to take it to the laundromat. I mean, let's be honest.
You wanted to use someone else's washing machine. All right. There's some honesty. Go ahead. What else we got?
Yeah. So my daughter and I went to the laundromat and I saw someone from work. A lot of people that I work with live around where I live. And he was there bringing some hunting gear, I guess, or whatever to the laundromat. And my daughter was so short and rude to him. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Why in the world? He was like, oh, you're getting ready for a vacation. And she's like, yeah.
Go to hell, buddy.
And that is actually, yeah. And that's not like her at all. And then we sat down, waiting for the laundry, and she fell asleep. And I was like, whoa, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
I think there's something wrong. But I didn't want to scare her. And then we had family come into town the next day. And my brother-in-law from Louisiana was in town and was like, what's wrong with her? And I'm like, okay, there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. So what do I take her to the doctor and say, I think there's something wrong, but really there's nothing. I just felt so weird taking her in, but I did anyway.
Let me jump in for a second. Did you think something mentally was wrong, or did you think physically? Because I mean, she
maybe both. We went to a party, an end of the year pool party, and she just looked so upset the whole time. I thought, oh my God, what is wrong with her? What's the matter? Nothing. Oh my God. That kind of an answer. The night before I took her to the doctor or made the appointment, I did Dr. Google searches and said to my husband in the morning right before I made the appointment. My doctor's office is so awesome, and made it like that day, got her in. And I told my husband, I think she has type 1 diabetes, but I had no idea what that was. I just saw these are the symptoms. I didn't look into, anything else. And he's like, oh, okay. He didn't know either.
Mm-hmm.
So took her to the doctor that morning after swim practice. She went to swim practice, got her out, went straight to the doctor, and distinctly remember her drinking a Sprite on the way. So that probably didn't help things. And he said, definitely not type 1 diabetes, but let's check it out just in case. Let's get everything going. And he came. Yeah.
I like that he put himself on the line there and then was like,
sure.
I was wrong.
Yeah. And he's he's the family practitioner, so he's all 4 of our doctors since my son was born. So 16 years. Mm-hmm. And then he came back and his face was white as a ghost. And he was like, okay, well, scratch that. It is. And you're going to need to go straight to the children's hospital. Please don't go home. Call your husband on the way. I won't make you take an ambulance if you promise to go straight there. And I was like, what in the hell?
Yeah.
I thought she had this, but the hospital, seriously? So naive.
Also, don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Don't slow down.
Don't get clothes. Don't do anything. He said, prepare for a stay. You're going to be there. And I'm like, what?
I'll only not put you in an ambulance if you promise to drive directly there. That would have freaked me out. I would have been like, whoa, yeah.
And she's looking at me like, what? And I'm just smiling, like, it's going to be okay. Don't worry. And then, so we get to the hospital and she's drinking that Sprite still because she's so thirsty. Yeah. And I'm like, we can't stop for anything else. No idea that that's a horrible idea. Yeah. And then we get there and walk into the emergency room and she's just leaning on the counter, elbows on the counter, head in her hands, staring. And our doctor apparently called ahead and they were waiting for us, took her back, and it all began from then. But I swear it was one of those things where as soon as she started getting insulin, I'm assuming the life in her face came back.
Sure. Yeah.
Instantly. But come to find out she had lost 20 pounds.
Yeah. Mellisa, dying is hard on you. And that's what's happening.
Yeah. We still now we can kind of, I hate to say joke, but I'd be whatever, come across a picture and I'm like, you were literally half dead in that picture.
Yeah. 100%.
Didn't know.
Oh,
yeah.
Crazy.
So
is there any other type 1 in your family?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Other autoimmune stuff?
Just thyroid, my mom and my sister.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that is it.
No, that's autoimmune.
My sister has Hashimoto,
right?
I believe. And my mom, I'm not sure what she has, but she's been taking thyroid medication as long as I can remember.
Yeah. So she probably had Hashimoto's before they knew how to test for the antibodies.
My son has a peanut allergy, which I think some say is also possibly autoimmune.
Yeah? Hold on a second.
I don't know. Our doctor has mentioned it a few times. I know you're going to Google it.
Your doctor also said that kid didn't have diabetes. So let's take a look.
I know. He's an awesome doctor.
Oh, yeah. Sounds amazing. Allergy, autoimmune. Listen, I think most allergies are immune responses. So Let's see. But are they calling it? Peanut allergens can trigger a potent and sometimes dangerous immune response.
I don't know.
I don't think that. All right, let's be more clear. Is a peanut allergy an autoimmune disease?
And no, I don't know.
I don't see it. This is an interesting article from 10 years ago. Peanut allergy turned off by tricking immune system. I'm not going to read that one, but NIH article from 2011. Immunological similarities between selected autoimmune diseases and peanut allergies, possible new therapy. But yeah, they're not calling it an autoimmune disease, but I think that the way it works got them looking at ways to help it that relate to autoimmune. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. So the son, peanuts.
And we thought that was bad. We thought him having a peanut and all nut allergy was bad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is the end of the world.
Yeah. Diabetes will straighten up your perspective on that.
Oh, yeah.
What if your dog eats peanuts, craps in the yard, and your son can't pick it up then? Is that correct?
He can be around it,
All right.
so
Well, then,
he can't get out of that.
I'm never getting that kid out of picking up that dog
No.
crap. Okay. That was my last try. Can dogs eat peanuts? Let's not go down that road.
I don't even know.
Okay. So here we are in the hospital. Life's coming back into her face.
Mm-hmm.
How soon before she's kind of herself again, like in her head? I used to hate ordering my daughter's diabetes supplies. I never had a good experience, and it was frustrating. But it hasn't been that way for a while, actually for about 3 years now, because that's how long we've been using US Med. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. US Med is the #1 distributor for Freestyle Libre systems nationwide. They are the #1 specialty distributor for Omnipod DASH, the #1 fastest growing tandem distributor nationwide, the #1 rated distributor in Dexcom customer satisfaction surveys. They have served over 1 million people with diabetes since 1996, and they always provide 90 days worth of supplies and fast and free shipping. US Med carries everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs like the Libre 3 and Dexcom G7. They accept Medicare nationwide and over 800 private insurers. Find out why US Med has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau at usmed.com/juicebox, or just call them at 888-721-1514. Get started right now, and you'll be getting your supplies the same way we do.
It's been a long journey. I feel like it just took a while for her to come to grips with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was hard to accept.
Yeah.
Is that still going on to some level?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
But it's way more, I don't want to say like nonchalant, but way more in the background, I guess, now than it was, 2 years ago.
Okay.
It's just been so like up and down. So for example, she came home from the hospital. She was on 12 units of Lantus, and I think her carb ratio was 1-10 when we first came home.
Okay.
We came home from the hospital, and the next day she went to swim practice, and not fully understanding what that was going to do to her. It's like, you can't just do 12 units of Lantus and a 1-10 carb ratio 24 hours a day when there's swim practice involved. You know what I mean? Like the activity level that she has going on every day makes things crazy on top of whatever else she had go on. So it was nuts. And like, I was on the phone with the diabetes educator at our hospital every single day for almost an entire year, either on the phone or messaging with them.
Was that because things just were not going the way you expected, and she's getting low from activity and that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Things were not going the way that we expected them to go at all. And like, even like sometimes our educator would be like, gosh, she is honeymooning so hard. Let me get back to you. I'll call you back like in an hour or whatever. Like, it was always like a big, like up in the air. I never felt like we could just nail something down and go with it.
And she's MDI at that point?
Yeah. She was for like 6 months. She was absolutely against a pump at all. Like, no, don't even talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see one. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. Do you ever look back? Like, she's using a pump now, I assume?
Yeah.
What was just that new thing? Like, I don't want something attached to me feeling?
I think so. She just did not want anyone to know. She did not want anyone to talk about it. She did not want to be treated differently. She wanted to like pretend like it wasn't happening, I think. She dealt with it. She's amazing with it.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to discuss it.
Okay. What about the other side of that's how she handled the news and what's happening to her. But what about the stuff you saw with her being short with people, falling asleep? That all go away pretty quickly?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So her personality came back.
Her personality absolutely came back. Yeah. She stayed like a little bit more closed off because she had this new, thing she didn't want anyone to know about, but she was not rude and nasty anymore. She did come back. She bounced right back.
No more ignoring people. They're like, so you're going on vacation? Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So that all comes together. Now, looking at her insulin use now versus your honeymoon period, is it significantly different?
Oh, yeah. So like I said, we started at like 12 Lantus, 1 to 10 carb ratio. And then she slowly, within like a 6 month period, went from point A was what I just said, to the end point in 6 months. She was on 0.5 Lantus. So we're drawing it with a needle out of the pen, and like 1 to 85 carb ratio,
Oh my
basically.
God.
Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. So she had like she was in DKA,
Yes.
had a need that's pretty, I mean, 1 to 10 and the insulin what do you think she weighed at diagnosis?
I know she weighed 83 pounds.
All right. So those numbers all just like kind of make sense. But
Hmm.
then over the next couple of months, her needs dissipated significantly.
And then disappeared. She went on the Dash for about a month. She finally agreed to go on a pump
Right.
because it was like the educator was like begging and begging, please go on the pump, because it felt like sometimes she needed a little more basal, sometimes she needed none.
Yeah.
Like the 0.5 was making her eat constantly
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So he was like, please go on this pump so we can get you the basal that you actually need when you need it,
Yeah.
So the Dash, that was amazing. But it only lasted for like a month, and she was going low for like 24, 48 hours straight. And he finally said, take it off, take the pump off, and let's see what happens. And she went without insulin for about 8 more months.
Okay. Now, Melissa, this is what I'm going to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
During that, did you ever have that unreasonable feeling of, oh my gosh,
Yes.
they were wrong?
Every day.
She didn't
every
have
single
done.
day.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think that was what messed us all up because we were like, okay. And everybody, they made a mistake. She had this was like an acute type 1 diabetes simulation because maybe she had COVID, and she's fine now. And I truly believed it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, they're wrong. It can happen. I'm sure it can. I still listen to the podcast all the time because I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, you're being crazy. You can't forget how all this works for when this does come back, basically, and it did. It came back, and here we are.
I think that it is one of the least talked about things about a honeymoon that is the hardest to deal with.
And that's kind of why I never heard really anybody come on and really like hash that out. And it is a bitch.
Yeah.
When it comes back. It was almost worse than the first time, I would say. It was almost like being diagnosed twice.
Yeah. I had I don't remember how long into Arden's diagnosis it was, if I'm being honest, but it might have been a fair amount of time. And I don't know what happened, but there was this one day that turned into 2 days where Arden just did not need insulin. And I don't know what it was. Like, we were feeding the tiny bit of basal that she was getting constantly. I wasn't injecting for food. And, the first day you just are like, this is horrible, like, because it just throws everything off.
Yeah.
And in the second day, I thought, maybe she doesn't have diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this has all been just a big mistake and she doesn't have diabetes. And then moving into like through that second day, I, happened to know our pediatrician, and I had the wherewithal to say, when I called him, I knew how crazy I sounded, and I knew that I was just hoping, and I was like, I'm going to say something to you. And then after I say it, you tell me I'm wrong and get me off the phone. And he goes, okay. And I was like, Arden hasn't used insulin in 2 days, and I don't think she has diabetes. And if you could hear sadness in silence.
Oh, yeah.
I could hear the sadness in his voice without him saying anything,
Yep.
So anyway.
I think we had like 2 endo appointments without insulin, and they would like make it a point to reassure me and be like, it's coming back. Just, we don't know when, because they even were like, well, yeah, I don't know. But there's one other person we had that is kind of like this. I felt like how can there only be one other person? This is it. We're the one. But
yeah, exactly. The whole world experiences this in one way. We're going to be the one. And that's how desperate you are.
yeah.
Like just to be rid of it. Anyway, I think it's a thing a lot of people must go through, and I don't think it gets talked about a lot, and I don't think it's easy. So anyway, give it some voice here. Maybe it'll help people to know. All right. So how long does this go on for?
I feel like I will never forget how long I think it was like 8 months though. It was a long, long time. So she's going into 9th grade, and at the beginning of 8th grade, it started to creep back in. Like I remember them saying, well, if she wakes up consistently, because she wore her Dexcom the whole time still.
Mm-hmm.
So if she wakes up, at consistently above 126, 3 days in a row, call us. And I thought, okay, oh my God. So this is like 3 days of dread, 120, 120, 125. She's waking up at 150. And I was like, crap, I think this is it. And it just kind of like slowly creeped in. Well, she started to like really kind of restrict carbs at that time too, which was not healthy.
Oh, so was there a situation where she kind of got it into her head that she could stop the diabetes from coming?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Has that stuck to her as well? Did she develop an eating disorder or anything from it?
We right away she right away had video therapy appointments because I was not ready to let that be like another obstacle that was going to be like a thing. So we really just like hit that hard. She was very resistant to that, but it helped a lot. And she just kind of like turned it right around and said like, hey, if it's coming, it's coming.
Good.
So
well, I'm glad because you can see where that would happen, where you start to get it into your head, like I could stop this.
Oh yeah. I hate to even admit, but I was like at 1 foot on board, like, let's try it,
Mm-hmm.
But
well, by the way, there's nothing wrong with like in that situation. There wouldn't have been anything wrong with eating a lower carb diet to try to make things last a little longer, but you can't get that magical thinking in your head that you're going to somehow, if you eat few enough carbs, never get diabetes. Like,
I know. And plus she, like I mentioned, she's got swim practice 2 hours every single weekday. Mm-hmm. You can't, like she was starting to, she's like, I can feel that I'm not strong. And I'm like, I think this is like not healthy.
Yeah. She wasn't eating probably, right?
Yeah.
It's, by the way, it's not like like a teenage girl's like, well, I'm going to limit my carbs and make sure my macros are right and everything. She was probably just eating low carb stuff that didn't have a ton of nutrition in it, and she's going backwards. So, yeah. Well, that sucks. When it finally happens, those 3 days in a row come, you're over 125, you get back on insulin. How long does it take for her then to go to like an amount of insulin that you see now and think of as normal? Did it happen quickly, or was it still a slow transition?
It's been a slow transition. I feel like I really don't know what would be normal, for her age and her like activity level and stuff, but it is a constant ebb and flow still to this day. She's on the Omnipod 5, which is a absolute godsend for what her situation is, because she will go from, I just looked on her controller, like some days she's got 6 units of basal, some days she's got 13 units of basal.
Wow. No kidding.
Some days she uses 30 units total. Some days yesterday was 19. The day before was 30.
Yeah. Is that wrapped around hormones, do you think?
I think it's a combo of hormones and activity. Mm-hmm. Like as the week, she has 2 hours of swimming every day, every weekday, and she's got the weekend days off. So as the week ramps up, her needs are less and less those days. And then the weekend hits and they're more and more. And then it just flows back to needing less and less, and then more and more, like every 7 days.
That sounds like a great time.
Yeah. So it's like, I do have different basal profiles. I totally know that the basal and the correction factor and everything does not affect automated mode. Mm-hmm. Get it? But we are flipping to manual mode all the time, especially on like Sunday when Omnipod 5 isn't quite sure what the hell is going on and like can't catch up. Then I have like the least active Sunday basal mode that we flip it to.
because her activity during the week goes way up, her needs go down, and then the activity goes away, her needs go back up, and and then it doesn't. So the higher needs, then she sits still, doesn't have higher need, and I gotcha. Okay.
And then depending on when that pod change falls, it could be like one of those days where Sunday is like amazing because she's got it just depends.
Mm-hmm.
So we utilize every single feature that Omnipod 5 friggin' has to offer.
Yeah.
Constantly.
I do things that I don't think it would occur to people. Like if Arden has a pod change coming up and she, for some reason, is in a situation where her needs are less, I'm like, ooh, change your pod now because new sites don't work as well. So maybe we'll get out of this low blood sugar by changing the pump here. Whereas I think most people would think of it as, oh, when I change my pump site, sometimes my blood sugar gets higher and it's hard to bring down. But if you can coordinate that with a moment when you don't have the, I know that's pretty like specific, but after you do this for a while, you find ways to make all kinds of stuff like that work.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We've done pod changes. I'm like, we'll change it right before. Yeah. Like it just
right before swimming, because then it'll be like doing a temp basal down or something like that.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
You just have to think about, it's hard sometimes to keep it all in your head, but there are ways to match up the impacts you're getting with variables where they'll actually help each other instead of hurt each other. That makes sense.
And when the pod, I'm like, ooh, we're on a roll. It's only Wednesday. We don't need much. Let's get it changed today, or I don't know. Yeah, I totally know what you mean, but we definitely work with it.
The other day, I could see Arden's needs were going up because of hormones. She's home from school, and the pod was coming towards the end. And like the effectiveness of the pod was waning. It was also fighting with the need. And I'm thinking, like, put a new pod on here. Like, just do it a little sooner. This is a perfect time to get a fresh pod on because of the need. And I mentioned it, and I got ignored. Nobody listened to me. And then when we all paid the price later, when her blood sugar shot up because she ended up changing the pod, like in the throes of this need, and then we had to put extra effort in. But had we just changed the pod like 8 hours earlier, we would have missed it. And I hope one day that Arden sees those things the way I see them. And I'm sure she will. But, for now, it was just a good experience, like an example, I guess, that we could have done something differently that would have helped. So anyway.
Yeah, timing is huge.
Yeah, it really is a big deal. What made you want to come on the podcast?
Well, first of all, I love it. I have learned everything I know, basically, from your podcast. I think I've listened to those. Another thing, those math episodes, like 820, 821, 822, are the like golden gem. I use those all the time because actually, I haven't used them I haven't changed her basal rates in the manual mode in a little while, maybe like 3 weeks now. So I feel like maybe we're like nestling into a spot. But since they came out, I have been changing her manual mode settings constantly. Like when she started on the Omnipod 5, her settings, her carb ratio was like a 1:60, and her insulin sensitivity, I think, was 180. I want to say.
Okay.
So like it was so weak. Everything, anything would move her up or down. But now her sensitivity, I think, is 55, and her carb ratio is 1:6.
Okay. Yeah.
So some days, like maybe like the carb ratio, I don't know. Like some days her basal is like 30-70. Some days it's 50-50. Some days it's 40-60. It's never actually very constant, but I feel like that's just because we're using every mode, activity mode, auto mode, manual mode all day.
I love how you're just like, switch, go back.
We do. Yeah.
What's your best advice for going from manual back into auto? How do you do that without causing a problem?
The reason why I would go into manual is if I know that her needs are, like, if we're going from a Sunday where she used like 35 units and it's a pod change, and we're going to an activity Monday, she ain't going to need that. And it's going to cause a lot of lows. So I go to manual and go to her highest activity basal rate. and let that go for a day. I know that the pod is usually for like sometimes we stay in manual mode for like 3 days straight.
No kidding.
Depending on when the pod changes. But we go to auto mode at night, which is awesome because she would have lows almost every night because of her activity level.
Mm-hmm.
And she does not have lows at night. Though, like it keeps her some nights around 120, don't love it. But if we don't use auto mode, then there's no basal rate that will keep her because it changes every hour.
Yeah.
Like in auto mode, like 2 hours in a row, nothing. The next hour, 0.3. The next hour, 0.6. The next hour, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
How would we manage that?
Yeah, I have to tell you, I think what I'm getting most out of this conversation, and I'm loving, is the kind of like joyous way that you're flexible. Because I could see talking to a different person and have them say, the thing is supposed to do this. And, just because we're throwing crazy variables at it all day long, I just want it to keep up.
No.
And that might not be the case for everything. But I love how you're just like, look, it's two tools in one. I can use it like an insulin pump, like regular old in manual mode. I can go over to auto mode and do this, and I can make it work for our situation. And you don't seem angry about it or like irritated. Why are you nice? What's going on?
Well, I'm so grateful for it. Like I just said, at night, how in the world would I even know what basal rate to choose for her at night?
Mm-hmm.
Like it would be insane. I'd be up all night. I feel like I'd be doing all the work myself.
Yeah. Don't worry. I've done that in the past before.
Well, I have too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done that too, but it's just so like refreshing to know, okay, I know at night, even though it's going to keep her a little bit higher sometimes, I would rather that than have her be like at 40 because it's pumping out 0.6 and she didn't need that for the 2 hours in a row or something.
I just like the way that you kind of go with it. It's nice. Sometimes you hear people complain so much about things. And, somebody the other day was like, my Dexcom never lasts. It always lasts 8 days or 9 days. And I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Like, what happens? Like, you have to call the company and they replace it. I'm like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, they do too. They're awesome.
I'm like, okay. It's horrible. Like, what if they just told you it lasted 8 days? Would you be happy then? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like.
Yeah.
I never know what people want. It's a very unique situation. This idea of having diabetes, right, from person to person to person, and yet these companies make these things that overwhelmingly work for such a wide swath of people. And okay, you got to make some adjustments or figure out things. I don't know how you can be upset by that. Like, I think it's because they don't know the alternative. Maybe they're newly diagnosed and they just don't, and that would make sense to me. But trust me, I'll put you on some like regular and cloudy or something like that from the 70s and see how quickly you're not thrilled if your Dexcom doesn't last 10 days or your pump has to go from manual to auto once in a while. It's just, it's interesting. I like listening to you talk about it.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't actually mind talking about it. There was a point in time when I would never, I couldn't talk about it without sobbing.
About
honestly.
Diabetes in general?
Yeah, just in general, just even thinking about it I'm done. I'm over. I can't talk about it. I can't believe this. Why is this happening to my daughter?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't deserve this. I'm over that. Like, I'm just so grateful that we have what we have. She went home with Dexcom from the hospital pharmacy.
Really? That's
yeah.
Cool.
I didn't even know it existed, but my husband he was a football coach at the school that my son goes to. Mm-hmm. And one of his players, who is a police officer now, has type 1 and was diagnosed right after high school. And my husband is like one of those guys who's like, hey, I know a guy, I got a guy. And so he had a guy, of course, who he's like, hey, wait a minute. I remember this guy's got type 1 diabetes, and called him. And he said, get a Dexcom right away. So I told the nurse while we were still in the hospital, what about continuous glucose monitor? And she told us, there's a Libre, there's a Dexcom. Which one would you like? Picked Dexcom, went home with it. That guy came over that night, the night we got home, and put it on her. And yay, never went back.
That's terrific. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Our like I hear so many people say that their endo is making them wait for this and wait for that, but ours was like as soon as you feel comfortable, let's think about a pump. Like they did not want us to wait for anything.
Yeah.
They weren't saying no Dexcom. They just said like, yeah, sweet, let's do it.
Some doctors just, they have these arbitrary rules, and I think sometimes they come from insurance too.
Yeah, possibly.
Like a doctor says, look, I run into sometimes that insurance won't give people a whatever if they haven't blah, blah, blah for 6 months or whatever. So they don't bother doing it anymore. Meanwhile, other people have different insurance. So,
yeah, we're lucky. We're so lucky.
Yeah. And they change, and then the doctors end up changing their ideas around the insurance instead of just saying, look, we should ask for this for everybody and let the insurances that'll cover it, and the ones that don't, won't, but
yeah.
Why are we getting away from talking about it? Yeah. That's terrific. Good for her actually having that right away. And she had that, but didn't want to pump right away, but she saw the value in the CGM. Is that right?
Yeah. She saw the value in the CGM. Let her be more normal. I mean, she already had a phone, of course. So, it was just nothing, just this tiny little thing. And she would keep it on her arm, but with swimming every day, it works a little bit better if she keeps it on her stomach. So she tries to keep both things on her stomach, but lately her stomach has become a little bit sensitive.
Okay.
I don't know, but it works better. Just everything stays on better if it's like concealed under her suit.
Yeah. What's the management like in the house? Like, are you helping? Is your husband helping? Is she doing it by herself?
It's 50. I don't know. She does it by herself. Like she did all the shots by herself. I mean, the nurse was in the hospital was like, okay, honey, talking to her like she was going to be like all nervous. And she's like, I'm going to be doing this forever. You just give me the thing. And she just, shot herself in the leg and never looked back. She's, I'm not a baby. I'm going to do this. It's fine. I'm not afraid. Just give me the thing.
What about decisions about like the amounts of insulin or these things you're doing when you're going from manual to like blah, blah? Is that you?
A lot of it is I'll text her, and say, switch to auto, switch to manual highest, switch to manual lowest activity. I will text her just that stuff if she's not with me. But she managed it. I mean, she does most of it on her own. I don't like oversee if she's going down for, breakfast or lunch. I tell her how many carbs are in her lunch, like at school. Yeah. And I just put a little sticky note in her lunch, and then she does what she does. And sometimes I'll say, oh, maybe did you underestimate? Did you not, little questions like that. But she pretty much does it on her own. Sometimes she'll just like hand me the controller and I know that she's done and she wants me to do it, but for the most part, it's on her own. I oversee and, like I'm a partner with her, but.
What about her lows? She sees a low and stops it on her own, or you get involved there?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes she says already did, I'll text her and say 2 Skittles. She keeps Skittles. Her Skittles are her, like low in her little bag. I'll say like, hey, couple Skittles. And she's like, already did, for the most part. Sometimes she's like, wait, what, why, but.
Melissa, do you think she'll ever get to the age where, and I'm quoting now, oh my God, chill TF out, which I think means the f-. And so, cause I got that text the other night.
We're there. We're at that point too. Like the, oh my God, OMG, I got it. It's just a stop sign. I get.
Stop sign. I haven't gotten that one yet. I love that. That's great.
Or like especially if it's in school, she doesn't have very many lows really actually. But, like in school, she's like, I can't text now. I'm talking on my watch, or whatever. But it's like a partnership. I like my huge thing. I don't know if it's like overbearing or what, but I like from the very beginning, you don't have to do any of this alone. Like you need a break, give it to me. I will do whatever you need or want me to do. I don't like expect her to, I'd do it all if she wanted me to. I would do every last drop of it if she wanted me to. She's 14. She's got how many more years left of this? I'm fine doing it for her for now or with her, you know?
I agree. I think
Yeah.
I think it's a thing that you can be helpful with along the way. I also think that I've talked to enough people as adults who look back on their childhood and end up saying, I kept telling my mom I knew what I was doing, but I didn't. And it would have, yeah. And so I think that's important to keep in mind too.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like at her being 12 diagnosed, it was like we learned it together. It wasn't like, you know, she was 2 years old like you, and she's not going to learn any of it, you know, how in the world? So it's just you.
Yeah.
But we kind of like have been learning together, and it's just kind of like a joint effort, I guess.
Can you tell me a little bit about how the podcast is helpful to you?
Oh my gosh. Yes. First and foremost, I think it was like it just gave me some mental peace of mind. We know nobody. Well, besides there's a police officer, you know, one of my husband's friends, but like there's no kids that we know. Nobody that she knows has type 1 diabetes or has to deal with, you know, anything on the level that she's got to deal with that we know of, you know what I mean? So, and there's no parents who I can talk to or anything. So this is like the community of people I don't know, but totally relate to, and just made me feel so much more like comforted, even though I don't know anybody, you know?
Yeah.
So just to hear like parents struggle with it and parents feeling guilty and doubting themselves, and along all the feelings I was feeling, is just like made me feel so much, I don't want to say better, but just like less beating myself up, I guess. And then just the knowledge, like when the Omnipod 5 episodes came out, so helpful. Listen to them. I don't even know how many times on my walks. My dog is like, lady, who is this guy? Because I would, you know, like I don't really wear headphones on my walk, just my phone's going in my pouch. And so he hears your voice for an hour and a half every time we're walking.
Well, do you want me to start telling him where to poop? Maybe we can get it all in one place so the kid's job will be easier.
I would love it. Just right on the side of the house, all right over there. Go ahead. Yeah.
That's funny. Well, it will make you feel good to know this then. Hold on one second. I am looking at an email that is setting up a meeting for tomorrow. And it says, "Hi, Scott. I hope things have been well with you. I don't want to use anybody's name, but I know you've been chatting with us about your next Omnipod series for the podcast. And things are coming together on our end. It's time to get together. We'd like to get your ideas and set up an outline for the conversation. So there's going to be more Omnipod content coming next year." So Yay. Yeah, they found that very helpful, and so did a lot of people. And those episodes have been downloaded a lot. So actually, those 3 episodes are collectively up to about 150,000 downloads.
Oh, yeah, because they're on the website. They're on the Omnipod. Like when you set up your Omnipod 5, there you are.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? Because it's weird to me, just so you know. It's very
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I did get my husband to listen to those episodes. Because my daughter went to Washington, D.C. Oh, my God, this was huge. She went to Washington, D.C. with her school in June. And if you want, this is going to probably make me sound like a nut in a bag, but we're talking like months and months of mental anguish over this. I was a ball of nerves for months leading up to this trip that she took, because I don't know, I was just so scared for her to go. And she killed it. She did awesome. Thanks to the Omnipod 5. I mean, she ran a little higher than she would have at home, but dear God, that automated mode, thank the Lord.
So
for that.
You just threw me off with nut in a bag, because I'm like, is that a thing people say? So,
is it?
So it is actually a saying.
A crazy person?
So a nut bag is a crazed male or female. So you may have meant it made me sound like a nut bag. If you said that, I wouldn't have paused. I would have just been like,
okay, well, I am famous for screwing up like really easy to remember phrases. So
really?
Yeah, probably supposed to be nutbag. Yeah.
You're colloquially challenged?
Yes.
Oh, by the way, oh my God, I'm going to definitely name the episode Colloquially Challenged.
Go for it.
But so nuts in a bag is a reference, but it's not what you meant.
It's nutbag, yeah. Most people know by this, they know, nobody mentions it. Sometimes my husband's like, oh my God. Or I can't think of the word. So I just like something comes out of my mouth. And usually like my husband and kids know what I meant, but they're just rolling their eyes.
You just get it wrong a little bit.
A little bit. Actually, for whatever, like trying to get situated for here, I was asking my son, where are your AirPods? And I don't know what I said, but he poked his head out of the bathroom and said, why is it so hard to say AirPods? I have no idea what I even said.
All right.
I'm like, I don't know.
I have somebody I'm related to who I won't out here because I think people listen that would know this person, but they very frequently use words in the wrong places. And I love going, that's not what you meant. That's not the word you meant. I know
what I meant.
Yeah. I know what you're trying to say. That word doesn't mean that.
My husband's line, he just is like, that's not what that means. And we just move along. I'm like, but you know what I mean.
That's fantastic. Anyway, there's also some dirty phrases here about nuts in a bag I don't want to tell you about, but you meant nut bag is what I'm saying.
Crazy lady.
Yeah. So you were really nervous to send her away. Obviously, she's young. She can be by herself, but it went really well.
Yeah,
cool.
It went really, really well. Yeah, she had a blast, and we just did the manual mode, auto mode, this basal, that basal. Are you walking right now? Are you, that kind of thing.
Wow. And if you didn't do that just on that trip, do you think she would have been okay? Just left it in auto? Do you think it would have been fine too?
Probably, but my anxiety levels, I have a very hard time with the numbers on the Dexcom and just letting things go sometimes. Like, you'll probably cringe, but let's say it's 150. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's 150, and I will say to her, correct. And she's like, oh my God, it's fine. And I won't know if she corrected or not, because to her, she would rather be 150 than correct and go low.
Yeah, I wouldn't want her to go low, but I also understand what you're saying. Like, if I saw a stuck 150, it doesn't make me cringe. Like, I'm not cringing when you're thinking about it, but it did put me in my own head. I would be like, hey, this, whatever we're doing is not working right now. So you need more insulin here. You have to break this number is how I would put it. And back in the beginning, I won't lie to everybody, Mellisa, back in the beginning, I would see the number and think, oh, okay, yeah, because then there's going to be complications and you're going to die and it's going to be my fault and you're not going to be happy. And I get that. The truth is, as it moves on, 150 for a little while is not the end of the world. But staring at it for hours and hours and hours is not necessary either. So you got to find a middle. I'm trying to make my podcast, but the world's coming to an end outside. Hold on a second. What in that? Hold on a second. Unbelievable, Mellisa. Do they not know what I'm doing here? I'm making a podcast.
Driving by. How dare they?
This thing. No. Hold on. So I think this is the, I don't know what this is an indication of, but there is a piece of machinery outside right now going down the street, picking up people's lawn scraps. And this piece of machinery is overkill, to say the least. I believe it could be used to knock over a house, but instead it's picking up brush. So it'll be gone in a second. And
little bags of grass.
I think the people in my township overspent on this thing 100 million %. When you look at your fire department and they have this amazing ladder truck that goes up 200 feet and you think, we don't have any buildings that tall. Why did they buy that?
Yeah, you're driving and it's pothole.
Yeah, could take the ladder truck money and fill the potholes, would you please?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm watching 3 people watch the machine pick up the stuff and I'm thinking, if they were helping, you wouldn't need a machine the size of a mountain to do this, instead of them just all standing and staring at it while it's happening. It is so loud. Can you hear it or no?
I can a little bit, yeah. But
it's insane how loud it is. I mean, I wish I could describe to you the earth mover that is outside of my residential home right now. I don't live in the middle of nowhere like Mellisa or wherever you're at. I don't know. You're God's country there. Where are you at? Not exactly, but right?
We are. I mean, I don't mind.
You're Midwestern?
Michigan.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Michigan. Yeah. It's not, I feel like I don't hear very many people from here. I don't know anyone, I feel like. Nobody says they're from here. We don't know anybody. Are we the only people? We can't be, because it takes me, I know there are other people at our clinic. But.
Yeah. I just recorded with Robin the other day. She's an adult with type 1 and she lives in northern Michigan. She has a lot of property and
Yeah.
everything. And
Oh, you know what? I do know someone. I totally forgot. And
see,
I just told him about your podcast, and for his son, yeah, and we went to high school together. It's his son. That's right.
hmm
Well, they were diagnosed right around the same time. He's a few years younger, but he was on vacation and needed something about the T-Slim
hmm,
and got it
nice.
through the podcast. He was like, "Thank you so much for telling me."
I just
So,
want to give you an update. We've now used 37 gallons of diesel fuel and 4 people's man hours to move what looks like an amount of brush that my father would have just lit on fire and made go away, but he can't do that anymore because it's bad for the air.
is it one of the, as everybody get like hang on to the side of it as it drives away?
Oh, no, you're not imagining a large enough piece of equipment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's a thing out there that if a war broke out, they would probably use this to help fight, is how big it is. And
Oh, God.
it is backing up and going forward and backing up and going forward. While 3 people are he's now trying to pick up 4 branches with a machine that's meant to like knock over like concrete. And it's too delicate of an operation. And if one of them would bend over, pick the branch up and throw it
up
in
into the thing.
yeah, this would have been over a while ago. But instead, it's still happening.
Quite a production.
And it's such a motor. Like, it's vibrating my chest. I know you can't. The microphone's doing a good job of keeping it down, but it's still like, what are they? When it takes off, it's going to sound like a spaceship leaving, I think. I seriously don't understand what's happening. I don't have time to get involved in local politics, Mellisa. But if I did, I would start right here with this.
Like, take a picture. It's this right here. What is this?
This could have handled
Why?
with 2 guys in a pickup truck. And instead... There's an earth mover
I can
outside.
send my son over. He can pick that up.
The kid picks up crap like a champ. He could definitely do this too. So anyway, all right, hold on. We're getting towards the end, so let's make sure we do everything. You love me. That's important to mention.
Yes.
The podcast has been really helpful for you. That's cool. You're a little anxious. Do you think that's going to get better?
Yeah, it has gotten so much better.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to stay like that
slowly
forever.
Getting better and better, I think.
Yeah. You don't. Oh, hold on. The thing's back. It's backing up now.
Oh,
this
good.
Is amazing. What is? I'm going to go look one more time. Hold on. I'll be right back. Okay. It looks like they're done. They've, by the way, backed traffic up on a street that doesn't have traffic on it. So that's how long they've been out there now.
Oh, you can't even get by it? It's that big?
It's
oh, my
too
God.
big to drive around. Melissa, I feel like you're not listening to me. This thing is.
Now I've got it.
The man driving it is 19 feet off the ground. Okay.
Stop it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I don't know, how did that happen? It's almost like it's like when you find like a local police department and they have a SWAT team all of a sudden, and you're like, what did you need a Humvee for? We got the budget. I'm like, oh, okay.
Awesome.
Oh my God. Okay. Sorry. Your anxiety. I think it's something that's really obviously comes to most people in the beginning. And
oh, yeah, I can imagine.
But it should, the way I think about it, as your experiences build on each other and you get more and more confident and you see things work more and more times, like that stuff should go. If it's not, you should talk to somebody. But like, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to everybody. But but it should dissipate over time once you start getting some, certainty, I guess.
It's like one of those things where people say, oh, it'll get better. And I'm just like, screw you. No, it won't. How could this get better?
Yeah.
There's no way. But here we are.
Someone online the other day said something about, does it make you sad to see a device on a child? And it makes me sad all the time when I see whatever they were talking about on my kid. And
I think I might have seen that.
Yeah. And it
was a little kid on a couch.
Yeah. And it was a big thing. Like, it went on for a while. A lot of people got involved. I jumped in. I was like, hey, that won't bother you after a while. Like, I don't know what else to tell you.
I'm picturing that exact statement. And like, I scrolled right through and thought, yeah, you're right. It won't. I mean, yeah, it's sad, but also like now I can't even believe I'm saying this, but yeah, it's sad, but look at what you have. Like, you got all these things to help you out there. You've already got them on your kid. You've got the pod and the Dexcom, awesome.
Yeah. I think it's very reasonable.
I can't imagine, like, first of all, I can't imagine if my daughter was younger and I just feel like I would have been so much, not to say so much more sad. Isn't that horrible to say because she was 12, but like maybe too young to like communicate about it, just like this is happening to you. You have no idea. Oh my gosh, this is like 20 times more awful. Whereas she was able to like, we learned together, like I said,
Yeah.
which I feel like we like had each other.
I think what happens is that no matter when this occurs in your life, there are different reasons to be sad and different reasons to be hopeful. And there's things that you can point to, like, here, watch. My daughter was 2. So a lot of the stuff we did, she didn't really know about. Like, she didn't know she had diabetes. Like, she's just how things were. So that is a positive. If you juxtapose it against a 12-year-old who lived 12 years without diabetes and now is suddenly having to do all these things and understands contextually, but you can flip those things around and make the arguments in reverse.
Absolutely.
And so the truth is nobody wants diabetes and it sucks. And there are things that are better or worse about it depending on the age when it happens. But to judge it all against itself it's kind of a waste of time.
It's like it's the weird thing where you're all like in the same boat, but maybe like in the same water, but in different boats, Yeah,
you can think about it any way you want.
Waving at each other like, are you okay? Kinda, are you?
I think some of it's not within your control. Like, to see it, like, I didn't want my daughter to have a pump because I was like, we can't put something on her. Everybody has that thought,
Oh, yeah.
And then once you do it and you're like, oh, this isn't a big deal. And it really helps in a lot of other ways. So cool. And then one day you're just accustomed to it. It's no big deal. Or, somebody will get online and be like, I can't believe that my XYZ expired when I was trying to, please, you'll just get used to that. It'll be part of what you do and it won't be a big deal at one point. And you'll learn to like appreciate the fact that your life is, I don't know how to say this exactly, but you got to be able to do hard things in life. And sometimes challenges are really like what make you. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I wouldn't give away I prefer a different challenge that didn't involve health, but
like, come on.
Yeah. But it's also not up to you. So you got this thing. And then from there you can decide to meet it head on and let it make you grow, or you can decide to let it run you over and do the other thing. And for the people in between who have actual, issues where they can't create that kind of like resistance, then you hope they find help and find other people to help prop them up while they figure out a way through it. But for most people, you get to decide how you react to things. So, anyway.
Yeah, I guess as with everything,
It's up to you, mostly. Give it a shot.
I know.
Go for it. I mean, you might as well go for it. It's better that way than the other way. I mean, if you've got a choice to make the choice that might end up with, some positive outcomes, I think.
And that's a lot of work. I mean, it's easier said than done. It takes a lot of work to feel that way and think that way, I think, and actually do it.
Yeah, if you were a dumb boy like me, you would just be like, you got rocks in your head. You're just like, I'll do it. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
I know. I'm an overthinker, so.
Yeah, I don't think about enough. I don't think about anything enough to be upset about it for too long. The key to life is to just be like a boy and just go, it'll be all right, and go.
I know. I wish. I wish.
Yeah. Or not. I'm sure there are women that think like that too. Oh God, is somebody going to be upset by that? You know what I mean. Stop it.
Disclaimer. Yeah.
There's just sometimes you can get too in your own head, I guess is the way you can think about it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, Mellisa, this was terrific. I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you doing that with me too, especially since I messed it up. I think it was maybe last week.
I have to admit, my schedule is so busy that you popped up today and I created the file. And I was like, I already have this file. Like, why do I have a file with his name on it? Now I'm like picking through my email. I'm like, oh, this was rescheduled like days ago. And then I'm like,
is she going to show?
I'm like, I must have done this. How do I not remember this? What did happen the other day? I forget.
I'm a paper and pencil planner person, and I wrote it down for the 8th. I don't know why.
That's right.
And it wasn't.
I texted you. I'm like, hey, are you going to get on this? And you're like, it's on the 8th. And I'm like, it's not.
Okay. And listen to this one. So I don't even remember when I scheduled this a long time ago, right? How many months ago? And every month I put it down in the bottom of my notes until I got to right in August. I just kept putting it to the next month. So I've seen this date for months because I just can't forget to put that in August. And it was the wrong thing all along.
You very consistently wrote down the wrong date. That's excellent.
Yeah. Yes. That is my life right there. That is me in a nutshell. So
Okay.
prepared, but so unprepared.
I wish I could ask you just general sayings that you get wrong. Do you have any?
I couldn't even think of one right now. I know, like I was trying to like real quick think before when we were talking about it, but I don't know.
I thought that just from your personality, I thought she's not going to even be able to like recant the ones that she gets wrong.
No.
So that's great. That's fantastic. All
I
right.
can't.
Well, Mellisa, again, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Arden has been getting her diabetes supplies from US Med for 3 years. You can as well. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. My thanks to US Med for sponsoring this episode and for being longtime sponsors of the Juicebox Podcast. There are links in the show notes and links at juiceboxpodcast.com to US Med and all of the sponsors. A huge thank you to one of today's sponsors, AG1. Drink AG1.com/juicebox. You can start your day the same way I do, with a delicious drink of AG1. If you're not already subscribed or following in your favorite audio app, please take the time now to do that. It really helps the show. And get those automatic downloads set up so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.